Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, or Tiger Tank 12, however you call me, I don't really care. And welcome back to World of Tanks Weekly. Again, it's Monday if you're watching this, and we're going to be recording this on Saturday. So if something comes out on Sunday, well, unfortunate, it will just have to fit into next week's World of Tanks Weekly. But today we have several topics. We're going to take a look at some new styles. First and foremost, the Badger style, Mordred, which looks pretty damn cool. We're going to take a look at a German premium tank, and then we're going to take a look at some of the in-game pictures of the Charlemagne. That is the tank that we've talked about last week. And also, we might talk about some of the vehicles that might be in the loot boxes. And one of them being, at the moment, currently speculated, is the GSOR 1008. That is the vehicle that is the British tank destroyer with an auto-loading gun at tier 8. Very unique vehicle. And yeah, does seem like Wargaming will be putting that into the game. And yeah, well, loot boxes are still a bit away. But let's jump right into the first style. We're taking a look at the Mordred, and that is for the Badger. You can see the British tanks are getting some love. They're getting some new skins, and this is what we have right here. And there is a lot of stuff going on. First and foremost, we have the tar nets, or the camouflage nets all over the vehicle. Looks pretty damn cool. It's over the gun, and it kind of goes upwards and around the tank. And yeah, the vehicle looks like it's a sniping, like a sniper with a huge 20 or 30 mil machine cannon on top of it, and you have the Badger sign right there next to the cupola or the viewport. It looks really cool. To be fair, that's one of the styles that looks it looks a bit over the top with the machine gun on top, but other than that, it actually does seem to fit the tank very well. And to be fair, I enjoy it. I dig it. So let's move on to the next style. I apologize in advance for all the people who absolutely hate Christmas before it is actually Christmas, like when they start putting all the Christmas decorations up in October. And yeah, this time around we're taking a look at the Panzerkampfwagen 7. This vehicle is called this style is called the Panzerklaus, and you can see what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the VK 7201, I think, to be Santa Claus, the tank. And there are gifts wrapped around this tank. There are, what do you call it again? The mistletoes. Basically, it's an entire Christmas-themed VK style, and it looks ridiculous, but I love it. I kind of love it. It looks so fun. You have the sock, you have the reindeer Rudolph right there. It just screams Christmas, and yeah, if you like it, well, you're probably going to be able to pick it up in this Christmas period. There's so much attention to detail. It's like so over the top that I almost enjoy it, but I'm not sure if everyone will like it. Thankfully, there's the option to turn off these non-historical. So we're going to be taking a look at the vehicle, the Kampfpanzer 07RH, which looks ridiculous, by the way, which is currently in a super test. And I know Quickie Baby just made a video about this vehicle. The thing is, everyone, Quickie Baby, and what was the other guy called? I just forgot his name. Des Games, right? They also get their sources from this website. So obviously there are going to be some things that do like get caught in between, because we're going to be reporting on these things. And obviously I assume that Quickie Baby and Des Games, they obviously will be running out of content eventually, so they're also going to be reporting on this stuff. So yeah, all the YouTubers are looking into the same sources, because these sources are very, very good, and they have not let us down, like, at all. The Armor Patrol and the Daily Bounce, they have been added, and I just want to say a big thanks to this site, because all of the resources, all of the links obviously are in the description below, but they make great work, and they are so deeply embedded in there. I have no idea where they get their news from, but they're very credible. And it's really cool to see all this stuff beforehand, to know what is coming your way, and that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of, doing this, so you guys are informed. This is not just because of my own interest. It's mainly because of my own interest, but at the same time, it's also to inform you guys. So this is supposed to be, or currently is at the moment, a tier 8 premium vehicle. We do not know yet how it's going to come into the game, but we know that there are a lot of premium tanks coming our way in the next some months. Especially Christmas, December, we're going to see a lot of premium tanks being dropped through the loot boxes, I think. So it has a 1350 HP, engine of 700 horsepower, a mass of 30 tons, a max load of 31 tons, so it's a rather light vehicle. And it has a pretty good power to weight ratio of 23.33 horsepower per ton. With 65 kilometers per hour top speed, it is a fast tank. It has great hull turning speed and turret turning speed with 57.37 degrees per second, 52 degrees 0.15 degrees per second for the turret. Now all of these stats are still subject to change. They might change, but they look like they are pretty damn interesting. The view range is not as good though. 380 for a tier 8 German medium tank. I'd expect it at 390. Okay, 400 would be too much. That's on the level of a tier 9 and tier 10. So I'd say 380 is decent. But moving on, the hull armor is 150 millimeters thick at the front, 75 millimeters thick on the side, and 25 millimeters thick on the rear. Very lightly armored tank, especially on the turret, with only 80 on the front, 60 on the sides, and 60 on the rear. And the turret is really interesting because it's like a disc. It's a very round turret, and it reminds me of the British tank destroyer, which I do not recall what it was called. The tier 7, which also has a very similar kind of turret. It's also very round. So you will not be bouncing a lot of stuff on this turret. Very interesting to see that there's going to be a tank with great gun depression, which we'll get into in just a second, with a not so good turret. So the alpha damage for this 19mm gun is actually only 200. 200 alpha doesn't seem to be a lot, but if the DPM is right, well, it might be interesting. Or if the rate of fire is right, it might be very interesting. The pen, 205mm or 255 if you're firing premium shells. We don't know if that's APCR or heat. And the rate of fire is 11.38 rounds per minute. That is impressive. That is a DPM of 2,276. So this is a tank that does do a lot of damage in a short time. So the reload time is 5.27 seconds. Accuracy is 0.35 dispersion at 100 meters. So nothing to write home about. Doesn't seem to be that impressive, to be fair. Aim time is 1.44 seconds. Quite interesting. So this tank is going to be aiming in very, very quickly. And this depression and the elevation with 9 degrees and 15 degrees each. Impressive. This tank is going to be quite good on ridgelines. It doesn't have a lot of armor on the turret though, so it might be interesting to see how this will pan out. And we definitely have to check this vehicle out once it comes out, but since it's a premium, we're going to have to see if we're going to be able to afford it or not. Because let's face it, World of Tanks in the Christmas period is really just a huge tornado going through, trying to collect as much money as they can at the end of the year. Let's face it, that's just how it is. It has 50 rounds in its complete magazine, so that's a lot of ammunition. You'll be going through that pretty fast, to be fair. And yeah, you'll probably need that with 200 alpha damage. A crew of 4 members, commander, driver, gunner, and loader. So yeah, pretty damn standard. But this tank does not look standard at all. And I'd say let's take some more looks at the vehicle in game. Okay, here we have the pictures of the vehicle, and you can see it looks really interesting. Just look at the way that the turret actually does raise itself, which is super weird. The turret goes up, and it reminds me of another tank that has the exact same mechanic. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but I have it in my mind. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was an American tank that has the exact same kind of layout. And if you look at it, it looks really cool. The turret is basically two parts. You have the outside kind of turret ring, and the turret is situated inside of it, and it can oscillate, I think, isn't it called like that? It can raise itself up and downwards, and the entire turret moves. So what you also have up there is an MG3 in like this protective little, I don't even know what it's called, but in this protective suit. And it's super weird that you also have like, I'm not sure what that is, but if you look at this at the front, they're like these pads, these dark black pads. They're put on the tank. And to be fair, what I usually like for my service time, usually it's like to get on the tank, it's a bit riffled so that you can actually step on the vehicle and it's not extremely flat, so you just slip down, because in the end the crew still needs to get inside of the tank, and if you don't have that, you're just gonna slip down, and you would need a ladder for the vehicle. But you can see that I think it has these spots. So right here you have the gun when it's like angled upwards, and you have the 15 degrees of gun elevation, which is super interesting, how the turret just kind of disappears in the back and just raises itself in the front. And it's interesting to see if you fire below there, would you actually shoot, like, do you hit the crew immediately? Like, does it count as a pen? I'm a bit confused how it would work. Right here you have the tank on a little ridgeline, and shows really nicely how the suspension works and the tracks and everything. And yeah, the tank looks really great. It's a great HD model. This is how the tank does look like if you are aiming downwards. And what's very interesting at the back right here is that this seems to be like the opening where you do push out all the shells that you have fired. And these, like the cartridges usually just bounce off the tank on the back. That's what a lot of Soviet tanks have. That's what I think a couple American tanks have as well. But it's a bit weird because at the back over there, I don't really think that there's an opening. So if you're firing like right here, you're firing this vehicle right now, there would not be an opening at the back, because I cannot see an opening over there. It might just be weirdly shown, but you know, the shell would just bounce back and stay in there, and it would be really cramped if you have like all the shells and the cartridges in your tank as well. But I think it looks really cool, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this vehicle, certainly. So let's move on to the Charlemagne and finish off this World of Tanks weekly session. And now we're finally coming to the last section of the news, and it is the Charlemagne. This is the tank that we've talked about last week. And we did not have any real pictures, except for the one picture that was put in with the stats. But this time around, we actually have in-game pictures of this British Tier 8 heavy tank with very, very bad DPM. It has a 120mm gun, but other than that, its rate of fire is pretty damn atrocious. It has the HD model, but it doesn't look very HD, at least from these screenshots at the moment. But you can see that this tank... Let's take a look at this photo right here, or let's see. Okay, now this one is actually better. You can see that it has a very interesting hull design, more of the like of a Soviet tank, with the pike nose design, and then the lower plate which combines with the upper plate. Then you have a very interesting egg-shaped turret that I've never seen before. This is going to be very interesting, depending on how much armor it will have. The front will be very difficult to pen, I think. It has a 120mm gun, which does not seem to be very long, to be fair. So it's a rather short 122mm gun. And yeah, it's probably not going to be very effective as well. It's probably not going to be a very accurate gun at distance, at least if you can believe what the stats have shown us. Other than that, I think the tank looks interesting, especially looking at the front. If you're facing it, it's like a way too big hull, way too big body for a very small head on top of it. But I don't know, it's a premium tier 8 British heavy tank. It's not a new line that they will be opening, so I'm not sure if you're not if you're not really a big fan of the Centurion Action 10, not the Centurion Action 10, the Carnarvon Action 10 as a premium, there's always another option with this one. We'll have to see how well it does in battle, but I think from the stats at the moment, it doesn't seem to be that exhilarating, not that exciting, but it looks interesting to say the least, and I think that is a good way to end this segment and to end World of Tanks Weekly for this week. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, as always, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.